Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Donna Feazell, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge television, radio, and podcast talk show. Thank you so much for watching every day, Monday through Friday, beginning at 2 p.m. on the Eastern Time Zone, as I get to ride home with you in the afternoon. You can find us many different ways. You can find us in Huntsville, Alabama, channel 182 on Charter Communications. We're still there. You can also find us on Abundance Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And don't forget the podcast on thenewscasters.com. The biggest radio station that there is in South Carolina. They're the best country station. If you like the stuff from the 70s, like Alabama Feels So Right, stuff like, it's almost like a country rock kind of a station. And I really do love that station and so proud to be part of that as well. We're going to be talking with Sam Anthony in just a few minutes about another way that you're going to be able to find us, which I'm really excited about. And a lot of you podcasters out there really need to listen to this, okay? If you have your own talk show, you've got your own voice, make sure you listen to Sam in just a few minutes. Continue sending email, Donna@donnasedge.com. That's Donna@donnasedge.com. And again, it's always so good to be with you. Sam Anthony is with me right now. And Sam, I got to talk to this NASCAR lady yesterday, and it was like this awesome interview where she really made it happen. And those are the people that you actually want to hear from. People have a voice now.
I totally agree. And Sarah's new on our platform. And, you would, when you think of NASCAR, you're thinking, guys and, guns and beers and, not a woman reporter. So that to me was amazing. And, I thought that's why I reached out to you, because I said, baby, this is a story unto itself. I certainly don't know a lot of NASCAR journalists, but I don't know any women that are reporting out. I mean, look, think of you had, what was the woman's name that was a NASCAR driver? What was the first one, the woman? Oh. And then now we have another one. But the point is that there's not a lot of them in the space. So now you have a woman journalist, and she is so passionate about it. Sarah's like, this is like, she lives, eats, and breathes NASCAR. And she actually has credentials from NASCAR to get into all the events. Is that amazing or what?
That's absolutely cool. And I like her humble beginnings and how she rose to the top so fast, but it's because she really believed it and she found something she was very passionate about. And actually she went to college, has this huge degree. I think she's like a master's degree in something else, but she's doing this. And you just never know where life is going to turn you. And those are the interviews I love.
Mm-hmm. I'm blessed to have her on our site. I'm so happy for that. Just because, our platform. I was just talking before we got on together with another journalist out of Greensboro, North Carolina, and she's like, well, so how does this work? And I'm explaining it to her, and she goes, well, is there specific topics I go, I'm not your boss. I work for you. You don't work for me. It's whatever your passion is. So when I showed her, her eyes lit up. She's like, are you kidding me? I can do whatever I want. Well, yeah. If you love fashion, you could do fashion. If you love home and garden, you could do home and garden. It's none of my business. I said, as long as we have a category for it, go for it. Right. I mean, and so she goes, I see big opportunities here. Right. So how do I set this up? So this is why I was racing to get on with you. I'm like, you got to hurry because I'm getting ready to go on another show. And then I got to go to another one in a little bit. But anyway, yeah, I think, you have a lot of people in the news business that are panicking, Donna, because there's no jobs. There's none. And I tell people all the time, if you can find a job, take it. But it's all moving to platforms. And by the way, I didn't do any of this. It's not my fault that it happened, okay? It's the younger generation. And, people really don't pay attention to Nielsen ratings or anything like that. But last year, the network television stations, the numbers were abysmal for the first quarter because they rate them by quarter. And when you looked at the age demographic between 25 and 54, which represents a huge portion of the population, the total viewership on all national networks, I'm talking ABC, NBC, CNN, Fox, those networks, was over 3 months, not a day, total viewership, 500,000 was the total
That's
viewership.
sick. I mean,
Okay. And so I said it, God knows, for like 3 months. All of a sudden, Megyn Kelly jumped in and chimed in saying, this is the numbers. Because so somebody, probably either her or somebody else, heard it. Then they looked it up and went, oh my God, this is abysmal. And so it's not that there's not a demand for news. It's just consumption has changed and people are moving in another direction. So do you remember in 1990 when we had ABC, CNN, and NBC, and that was it? Fox came around in 96. So you had literally 3 options for news. There's 60 million people that have YouTube channels. There's 250,000 people that have Rumble channels. There's, the Spotify and all these places for audio. TikTok and Instagram have over 100 million channels. Mm-hmm. They call them channels, right? It's like you could have a channel and I could have a channel. 100 million people are broadcasting. The point is you have, a 500 million options is the point. And so people are consuming it differently. Mm-hmm. And, I have a friend of mine and he's 62 and we go play golf every Saturday and he wants to pick me up and, ride over to the golf course. It's on the way. And he's got his phone up listening to podcasts, and it's the podcast that resonates with him. Mm-hmm. It's not listening to the radio. He's listening to his phone in his car. And that's the shift. And so for those of you who don't know, the money goes where the eyeballs are or where the ears are. Mm-hmm. And that whole shift migration is going to put mainstream media out of business. And it doesn't matter. Well, go ahead.
But this is so cool. Okay, so when I'm watching regular television, basically there's a memo that's sent out to all of the broadcasters, and they all read the same thing. Okay, so it's dot to dot. It's just a different person reading it. And basically, if you listen to that type news media, you're just finding the personality of the person you like best. It could be a gruffy dude, or it could be like a sunshine woman doing it, but they're reading the same thing. It's the same platform. But on a podcast, I don't have to wait until 6 o'clock. I don't have to wait until whatever time. I just look at it whenever I want to. It's my convenience. I don't have to do it. I find a quiet time and do it, so I can really get it into my head. But I can choose the news that I want. I don't have to be inundated with a bunch of liberal hack that I just am not interested in, where there's been no thought process at all. And I'm a little, leery some of the Republicans. But I want to find a true, and this is my gig, I want to find a true person who loves America and they want to shoot straight, whether you want to hear that bad news or not. They're going to give it all to you. That's what I like.
No, and I totally agree. I had this conversation with a friend of mine the other day. He's like, well, how do you know it's factual? And I go, how could I possibly know what happened at a city council meeting in every town in America? You can't. You have to trust that the reporters are telling the truth. But if they don't, the public will let us know. He's like, well, I want a site where you could just where everything is factual. Like he said, remember Walter Cronkite? He goes, how do we get back to that? I go, well, you build a time machine. And then you go back to where Walter was and you could listen to Walter. In the meantime, this is the world we live in today. And you have to find the person that you say, this resonates with me. I like what this person has to say. Mm-hmm. Look, Joe Rogan, I don't know if he ever went to broadcast journalism school or not, but you realize the guy's got 11 million viewers an episode, and he's bigger than Fox, CBS, ABC, NBC, CNN, and MSNBC combined a day. What does that tell you? Okay, what does that tell you? When one guy is bigger than all mainstream media combined, it's that it's all going away.
He's in his own island, which is something that I like. I've worked the corporate world before, and I'm just telling you, I hated it. I mean, I spent most of my time fighting with the people within my own organization. It was ridiculous. The competitor was not the problem. It was the people in the mix where I worked. And this has always been my point. So if I'm away from home, if I'm away from my family, I'm going to make the most of my time. It's not going to be spent at the water fountain gossiping. So I really wanted to work. Well, that drew anxiety with the other people because I was not considered part of the team. And the reason I was not considered part of the team is because I just wanted to do my job and then go home to my family. That's all I wanted to do. But I actually made more sales than everybody did combined because that's where my mindset was. And getting along with people is you have to get along with people. But what I'm saying is when you've got a job to do, you need to do that. You need to do it right. And you need to find information. If you are a broadcaster of any sort, You got to get the right information. And sometimes it hurts. And sometimes you got to get the news out there for somebody that you really adore and somebody you really like. I'm not talking about a bashing session, but I'm just talking about it's up to us to get the news out there, the right news, the truth.
I couldn't agree with you more. And, to your point, about listening to the talking points from the networks, it's because it's all been consolidated. There's 3 or 6 companies that control the legacy media. And what you were describing was Sinclair Broadcasting, where you had the 50 television saying the same thing at the same time, a threat to our democracy. So everybody saw it. Well, we all know it came from corporate, and it was all, however they communicated it, here's your script, and they just were reading off of a teleprompter. So the good news is, for the people who don't trust mainstream media, which, I certainly do not, but, there might be some people that still do trust them. I mean, the good news is we're moving to a completely decentralized news business where it's a people-powered press, and the people are actually going to be reporting the news. And the perfect poster child for this whole thing would be, Nick Shirley uncovering billions of dollars of fraud in just Minneapolis. And he never went to journalism school. The only thing he did was he walked around with his phone and said, "Excuse me, can I interview you?" Right? I mean, never went to journalism, didn't work for ABC, NBC, CNN, Fox, no network, local affiliates, no radio station. But somehow he's able to put out the news that the networks are supposed to be able to do, and they couldn't do it. How is that even possible?
That puts a mark against you when you do that. But everybody wants you to follow the crowd. And sometimes you just don't follow the crowd. And it may be harder and it might be a little bit tougher. But after a while, people start listening to you because they start trusting you.
Mm-hmm. That's all it is. He built an audience because he uncovered that. And by the way, it was so big, and you realize it's spread out across the United States, it's everywhere, that California just passed a law that made it a crime to uncover crimes. I did the law last week.
What have we women say in the South? When we say bless their heart, you know what we really mean?
No, tell me. I want to hear it.
I'll tell you off air.
Okay.
It's not what you think. So when we say bless their heart, bless their heart. Okay. So we're going. As a matter of fact, we've got to go into a commercial break. Can you believe the show is already wowzer when you're having fun? Okay, we'll be right back in just a few minutes. Everybody, hang in there. Twin City Used Car Sales has been serving drivers in the Northeast Alabama area for years with a quality selection of late model used cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks. On top of our extensive selection and competitive prices, we offer professional auto financing services for used car buyers of all credit levels. Whether you've just begun your search or you're ready to secure your next vehicle, at Twin City Used Car Sales, you will drive away with the vehicle of your dreams. The sales and finance staff at Twin City Used Car Sales looks forward to serving you, and you can apply for financing online before your visit to our used dealership in Gadsden, Alabama. Check us out on the web at twincityusedcars.com or go by our location at 901 First Avenue, Gadsden, Alabama. We sincerely look forward to serving you. Finding the right home isn't just about bedrooms and square footage. It's about comfort, security, and the feeling you get the moment you walk through the door. That's why so many families across Greenwood and the Lakelands area trust Jenny Ferguson with Keller Williams. And I'll tell you from personal experience, Jenny was my realtor, and she truly cares about her clients. Jenny takes the time to listen, to understand what matters most, and to guide you every step of the way, whether you're buying your first home, upgrading, or ready to sell. Because this isn't just a transaction, it's your life. With local knowledge, personal care, and a commitment to getting it right, Jenny Ferguson makes the process simple and even enjoyable. So if you're thinking about buying or selling, now's the time to make your move. Call Jenny Ferguson with Keller Williams in Greenwood today and take the next step toward a place you'll truly love coming home to. Shine your style at Kiss My Glass right here in the Anderson Mall. There's a place where style meets sparkle. At Kiss My Glass, every piece is handcrafted, custom designed, and made to shine just like you. Owner Beth Gibson brings creativity to life with stunning custom tumblers, gifts, and one-of-a-kind pieces you won't find anywhere else. Look for the perfect gift or something uniquely you, from bold and glamorous to simple and elegant. There's something for every style, so stop by, get inspired, and leave with something unforgettable. Kiss My Glass inside the Anderson Mall, Anderson, South Carolina, where your sparkle begins. Be sure to check out Kiss My Glass on Facebook for updates and specials and gift ideas. Good afternoon. We're back. My name is Donna, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge television, radio, and podcast talk show, and newscasters out there as well. But I wanted to mention one other thing. Okay, so 21 years ago, the show started. Okay, and so this is the original cup that I have not marred up and broken. It's been sitting in the china cabinet, so I probably need to hurry up and put it back in there before I crack it again. But this is the original mug right here, and it was called The Edge back then. And I had a co-host with me, Kathy, and Kathy and I are still friends. Sometimes Kathy comes on the show. And so Kathy was a whole lot of fun to have on the show as well. But I wanted to thank Tom Williams for giving me the opportunity 21 years ago. Thanks, Tom. It's been huge. And I know you've retired now, and I know you're having the time of your life. You keep fishing, dude. But it's always so good to be with you guys. I've got Sam Anthony with me right now. This is it's such a fun thing. When you can actually have a voice, it's called liberty. Okay, it's called, we got the 4th of July coming up, and I am such a patriot. I mean, I love America. You know why? Because I've been to other countries before, and they're just not like this one. Even with us fussing and fighting between each other, it's still the best country around. But I wanted to ask you a question, and this pertains to newspapers. So there was and I can mention the name. I grew up in Anniston, Oxford, Alabama, and so there's a newspaper called the Anniston Star. And so the guy who owned it probably still does, Brant Ayers, huge liberal. I mean, big time liberal. But we got along with each other because we both loved animals, and he would take trips to Africa. And when he would come back from Africa, he would want me to come and look at the pictures, of something that he had slaughtered while he was out there. But huge liberal. And one time he talked with me about working for him, and I knew it wouldn't work. And this is back in the 1980s, but I knew it wouldn't work because I'm not a liberal. Okay, I really love the country. I don't believe in reporting nonsense. And by the way, if you'll look Brant Ayers up, Google his name, the Anniston Story, kind of got into a little bit of trouble spanking some of his employees. Another reason I'm glad I didn't go to work there. But newspapers have changed, at least in his format. It may be in the back page, but at least in his format, he would have something with a conservative, getting the news out there. But what in the world has happened to newspapers? I would like to have a newspaper.
Well, they're a thing of the past, right? It's, as I said, its consumption has changed, and the younger generation really doesn't pick them up. Look, there's still a demand. It's just how people consume information, and the internet is more an efficient delivery system. It's like our model. So we're a daily. I'm like what did you call it? The Anniston Star? Is that what it was? Or the Miami Herald or Chicago Tribune? I'm on steroids. I'm in every city in the United States. So our website looks like those, but we have massive scale, and our niche is local news. So we do news that could be city news, county news, market news, state, regional, or national. But this is where it's all headed, and everything is moving to platforms where people like content creators leverage platforms for distribution and monetizations. YouTube has 60 million channels. We've had this conversation, 100 million on TikTok and Instagram. So the newspapers are still, they're not going to survive the traditional, because with the internet, you need scale. So if you ever noticed any of the papers that just went to online only eventually just collapsed, it's because you don't have any scale to it. What scale is the ability to attract millions of creators and attract, literally hundreds of millions of readers, and have ad inventory where you can have millions of advertisers. So to give you an example, the Anniston Star has a website. However many ads they can put on their sports page, we could do in one zip code, Donna. Mm-hmm. So our scale would be like having 70,000 times their inventory, because advertisers can target to a specific zip code. That's scale. nothing local works. You need scale. It's like trying to create an eBay or a Facebook for one city. It'll never work. You know, eBay will run right over the top of you. Even if it didn't exist, by the time it gets built, they're everywhere. Same with Facebook. So ours is the same way. The void we fill is the collapse of the legacy media. And our niche is the local news, which nobody provides. And by the way, you have people on YouTube, like the content we carry is never going to be behind a paywall. You know, like Substack is a place where writers go, and if they have really valuable content, people will pay for it. Well, nobody's paying for the church bake sale, the city council meeting, the high school football game, the bank robbery, the car crash, the new restaurant that's opening up in town, that kind of stuff. So that's our niche. But then we can distribute that information to a specific geography, while people like Sarah, which are writing NASCAR news, run national. So it's almost like the local paper in every city with USA Today wrapped around it, if that makes any sense.
It does. It feels like local in your community, in your area, and it feels national and worldwide at the same time.
And worldwide, yeah. I have probably 100 news reporters in other countries that are reporting international. Matter of fact, the person I just got off the phone with said that she has, once she grasped it, she went, oh my God. She goes, you know, I have people overseas in other countries that do international stuff that would be perfect for world news. Can I introduce that? Yeah, go ahead. So we get people signing up daily.
You know, I thought of a real good person, because Phil and I know a lot of missionaries. They're in other countries. Wouldn't it be great if you had a missionary that just had their own with you, and they could just talk about, you know, the things they need, you know, because it's not free living in another country like that, and you know, your life goes out to it. But it would be great, and then that way maybe you could have a hit with just a bunch of missionaries together, and then their families back home could see a little bit more insight about what they're doing and why it works.
So, you know, we do have a travel section, and I know there's freelance travel writers, but if you have people on the ground there, they could be writing a story about what it's like in Indonesia or Japan or the Philippines, wherever they are. And that kind of stuff draws an audience, right? I mean,
I mean, it helps. Like if you're traveling, like we went on the missionary trip to Africa, South Uganda, and we didn't have a whole lot of information about this is back in the 90s. So we didn't have a lot of information about the country itself. We were just told that the women do not wear pants and do not wear a skirt above your knee because you're considered a prostitute in that particular village we were in. So we made sure we were covered up with clothes. But see, there are customs you need to know about when you travel to a different country. It could get you in some trouble. But if you know those things ahead of time, and that's a great thing for the travel, for the travel folks, you know, that way you can get better insight.
100%. Yeah. So we're in building phase. You know, we have 6,000 news reporters, and we're expanding and growing daily. But you know, just in the United States with 20,000 cities, I'm guesstimating, you know, you probably end up, by the time you scaled this out, at about 50 people a city. I mean, certainly New York is going to need more than, you know, than one Schaumburg, Illinois or something like that, or Boca Raton. But you're probably talking 50 people a city, and you're probably talking about 1 million news reporters. And that's just the US. Most likely, you know, every tech giant is global, you know, eBay, Amazon, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, they're all global. So most likely the future of news will be a global media giant. I can tell you we're in the process of putting together Canada. So eventually we'll have a Canadian version. That'll be the next country. And then you can start expanding this across the globe. So what we're looking to do is build a global media giant that's a people-powered press that is completely, it's all freelance journalists, and you don't have to go to journalism school, just like with YouTube. Nobody on YouTube went to journalism school. Hell, look at Nick Shirley. I mean, he never went to journalism school, yet he's breaking stories that the mainstream media should have broke, but they just, for some reason, couldn't find him. But next citizen journalists are finding him, and that's where it's all headed. So I'm glad, because the days of the centralized news where it's what they decide to tell you, and, you know, all the lies that they've been feeding or the misinformation, they're just not letting you know things. That's all going the way of the dinosaur. And I think once you start shedding light on things, I mean, look what California did to Nick Shirley. He uncovered so much corruption in their state that they had to write a law to make it a crime to uncover the corruption. That's where we're at. It's just unbelievable. But they had to actually expose themselves. I don't even know what to say to that. So, of course, it's going to be overturned because it's called free speech. You cannot go and interview people in the community and put it online. That's a crime. No, it's not.
Absolutely. Let me ask you a question, too. Do you have any kind of an equity fund page or anything like that?
Yeah. So first of all, if somebody's interested in being a journalist, you want to be a news reporter in your community, you go to yournews.com, go to the bottom of the page, and you click on Become a Citizen Journalist, and you fill out the application, which is a little below. It takes 2 seconds to do. And once approved, you'll get an email notification. But what Donna's describing is we're doing something called an equity crowdfund. My background is capital raising. Companies like mine typically will go through Silicon Valley. They'll bring in institutional money. The reason I'm not doing it is because the reason we're in the mess we're in today is because you have 6 institutions control the legacy media. So if we're going to be a people-powered press, Donna, how could I say, oh, by the way, I just got an investment from BlackRock and Vanguard? The first thing you would do is go, wait, what? So it doesn't make any sense. So we decided to do something called an equity crowdfund in the beginning. Normally, and I'll give you an example of how this stuff works. I hope I have time for this because
you've got 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Silicon Valley will bring in big money. They'll scale companies up. They'll bring in a big management team. And those people are buying equity stakes in stages going from, let's say, $10 million valuation to 30 million to 100 million, like Facebook Series A. I'm in my Series A round. Facebook Series A round was 98 million. So say 100 billion. The next one was 500 million. The next one was $1 billion. But they bring in all this money to scale them up. And it's the mega wealthy that are buying the stock at $1 and $2 that when they take it public, you get to get in and you're paying the premium, right? But the really rich made all this money from the $20 million valuation to the $1 billion plus. This is how it works. So the rich get richer and you get in over here and then they don't care what happens, right? So hopefully it's a good investment. What I'm doing is there's something called an equity crowdfund where investors can actually make an investment and you don't have to be accredited. So I'm doing it the opposite. I'm letting the little guys in and they can spend $300 if they want to and anywhere in between. And as we scale it up, we close one, we're doing another one. This is a very small one. The next one's going to be at a higher number, but eventually we'll get to where we're doing a bigger one, which is going to be the IPO one, which is going to be all for institutional money because I'm not raising $100 million at $300 a pop or $1,000. It would take too long. But I'm doing it the opposite because they got to get in at the end. That's the reason. So yes, for people that are interested in investing, you go to yournews.com, go to the bottom, it'll say invest. It'll take you to our equity crowdfund page. You could watch a video. I explain it. And then there's, all the content you'll need there and you can make an investment right there. You can spend $300 and anywhere in between. The offering is only $365,000. We've already brought in a bunch of money from it. The next one, this one's $2. It's going to go to either 3 or 4 on the next one. So this one's going to be quick. I'll blow through this relatively quickly, but that was the best explanation I can give other than 2 questions you got to ask yourself. Is there a market for what I do? I have 6,000 news reporters. And then, and if there's a yes to that, then are we going to get bigger or smaller? And if you say smaller, don't make an investment. If you say bigger, by the time I get this to 100,000 news reporters, Don, I'm going to share something with you. Content creators on platforms like YouTube and Rumble and TikTok and Instagram, Wall Street already values the content creators at 10,000 per creator. So if I have 100,000, I'm worth $1 billion. Rumble has 250,000. They're worth $2.5 billion. That's the market cap. So big upside for the people that recognize it.
Well, it's always good to get into something before it happens. I got into the cell phone business when nobody had a cell phone. And that was the wisest thing I could have done. When all of my friends and folks were saying, what are you doing that for? That's never going to take off. And it did.
Imagine that. Yes.
I'm saying people won't live without their cell phones. Okay, let's go ahead and call it a day. Sam, thank you again so much for being on the show.
Donna.
So glad to call you a friend. So glad that we got to meet each other. And thank you guys so much for watching this show. You're the reason we do what we do. Continue watching. Continue sending email. Donna@donnasedge.com. Donna@donnasedge.com.